Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one! Another one! Another one!
Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Worked out by Burke. Bounces into Cody. Puts it up. Scores!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hey, happy Tuesday, everybody. It's a Taco Tuesday. Welcome aboard. Kevin Brockway with me. As always, we'll have Mike DeCourcy on today, Chronic Hoosier. Little, not as beautiful as it has been the last weather-wise. It's kind of looks like fall out there, man. Except a little misty. Play misty for me, Kevin. How's it going?
Little gray, kind of a gray, foggy day outside.
Well, actually, I was driving home last night, and it was still daylight, and there was fog out. So that's the kind of evening that was coming. But
you didn't hit any deer, did you?
I did not. But man, oh man, dude, they're everywhere. Gosh, dang it, they are freaking everywhere. You got to be very careful. Yeah, I've already been down that road a couple times. Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Welcome aboard. Looking forward to another fun show today. Glad to be back in studio. We'll hear from Tom Allen, in addition to, of course, Mike DeCourcy joining us and Chronic Hoosier. Right now, I guess everybody's talking about Indiana as far as football, the Indiana offense. It is a mess. Basketball is ready to get underway. Hoosier hysteria. Kevin, you were there over the weekend, I believe, right?
Yeah, we both were there, right? Yeah, it was.
Absolutely.
It was quite an emotional. I thought, Isaiah was really good. Very emotional. What he said about Mike Woodson and him taking off the jersey for the last time and never wanting to let him down again, and then winning the national championship in '81. That was a good story. Has that been told before or no?
Not to my knowledge, but not only that, it's more importantly is that brings more connections for people. The Indiana basketball, there's been fractures in Indiana basketball. There's no doubt. We've talked about that many times. The different hires had brought change after Bob Knight. At least even Mike Davis was an assistant to Bob Knight. So there was a connection. The players had a connection. But then once you made that next hire and then that connection was lost. And then even though I think Tom Crean did a good job of trying to keep that and make that reconnect, but he still was not an Indiana guy. So it's harder to do. Then Archie made zero attempt, and it really just went into the bucket. The whole deal did. Now you got a guy back who was right in the heart of it, who the early guys know him, the later guys know him, but Mike Woodson really seems to be a player's coach to me. In listening to him talk, in watching clips, being around him, he is just a chill guy. He's going to tell you what you need to know. He's going to tell you how to do it. Boom. I mean, it's a pretty simple formula.
I do think, he's got that relatability with players, but I still think in watching some of the video clips, I don't think he's a softie. I don't think that I think
no. I didn't mean to concern that because defense, the Bob Knight way on defense is going to be the only way.
Yeah. So I do think that I think there's a good mix there. You know what I mean? But he's not a guy necessarily that players dislike, which is a good thing. They're going to listen to him. They're going to, but I think with anything, it comes down to the results on the court, right? If you have a plan and it's successful, people will go the extra effort and go the wall with you. As we saw in the previous regime, if you have a plan and it's not successful, then they're going to tune you out really quickly. So you better have a plan, and the plan better work. I think that's the main thing. And, the development and how long you keep that buy-in is important. And I think what you want to see is progress. I mean, no one is expecting them to win the Big Ten the first year. I mean, that would be, pie in the sky thinking. But if you're competitive in the Big Ten, you've got a non-conference schedule that's certainly manageable that you can, make some growth in and develop a rotation, develop a little confidence with your players. And then you get into Big Ten play, and that's when the metal meets the road, so to speak.
Absolutely. And I think it's going to make that in of itself will make a difference. Just when people talk about, what's the word I'm looking for? When you change culture, the word that everybody likes to use, that has become cliche, but it's still real. And that culture, oh my God, you talk about one that needed to change Indiana basketball, and he is doing that from my viewpoint on the outside. And he's doing it in the very way that you just spoke of. But he's also surrounded by people who know that. Dane Fife, very, very familiar with that same type system. So he's got that as a backup. Then he's got two great recruiting and coaches in Coach Ya and
Kenya
Hunter, who have just done a bang up job. Not that Dane's not do also a great job. He's going to be I don't know who will be a better in-state recruiter, Dane or Woody. I mean, Dane may be it. Dane has done pretty good for Michigan State, pulling kids out of Indiana. Can you imagine now him going in and then having Woody to come in and finish the sale?
Yeah, and I think Dane has proven to be an evaluator too. There's more to recruiting than just stars, as we saw from the previous regime. It's about evaluating guys that can play in the Big Ten and that can fit in the Big Ten and that have that Big Ten level of toughness, of skill level. And Dane proved that at Michigan State in terms of getting players that fit the Big Ten and fit Tom Izzo's system. And I'm sure he's going to do the same with regards to getting players that fit Mike Woodson's system. Yeah, so much of recruiting is not just about, going on a website and reading stars. It's more than that. It's, evaluating. I've seen it over the years. I saw it over the years with Florida basketball, evaluation development, and they got their share of 5 stars too, and 4 stars. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Billy Donovan did do that. But I think when John Calipari came to the league in the SEC, Billy got to be much better finding those hidden gems, those guys, those 3 and 4 stars that he knew that he could develop into being better players by the time they were juniors and seniors.
Absolutely. And then now you wonder next season, because Indiana's really, I think Indiana, now I follow them obviously a little closer than teams outside of the Big Ten, but they seem to really be holding the line on recruiting. They had not lifted on recruiting, even though the transfer portal is going to be a really big part of that, I think. But they have continued, seems like to me, they've continued to recruit as if the transfer portal does not exist.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for that. You don't always have to. I kind of like the idea of bringing in a guy as a freshman, bring him in your program, developing him. But sometimes you get one and dones. I mean, who knows what Shafino is going to be like? Is he going to be a dominant type point guard, combo guard type player, or is he going to be a guy that sticks around for 2 or 3 or 4 years? I don't think you ever really know. There's certain guys, unless you're like a Zion Williams or something like that, if you're a top 5 guy. But if you're a top 20, top 30 guy, you don't necessarily know if you're going to, stick around a year, 2 years, 3 years. But I think you kind of like that and basketball is a game of cohesion too. It's a team game, as you know. And I think a lot of these programs that dip into the transfer portal and Mike White is going through that now at Florida to bring them up again, but he's turning over his roster every year. I don't think that's healthy. I think that you need a core, you need guys that kind of grow together and know one another. Because you kind of lack chemistry that way. And Baylor took some transfers too. They won a national championship. I know people will say that, but those transfers were in the system 2 or 3 years. They weren't just guys that, hopped in for a year and then left.
Well, the one and done method is proved to not work. It did not work. And this
worked in 2012 and 2015. It worked. I mean, it worked for Kentucky in 2012 and it worked for Duke in 2015. But the last 5 or 6 years,
one time out of 12, Kentucky did that for like 10, 12 years. Yeah. So
but if you have a transcendent talent in Anthony Davis, it will work. I mean, Duke had who did Duke have in 2015? Justice Winslow. I think in general, if you talk to a lot of coaches, they'll tell you if you have 3 NBA players on your roster, your chances of winning a national championship or making a deep run go up dramatically if you have that level of a talent. And The back-to-back national championship teams in Florida, I know they had Noah Horford Brewer and they won back-to-back national titles, and you had 3 lottery picks across the front line. If you have that level of talent, you're gonna go places. But if you don't, then you have to build a team that's cohesive, that's been together 3 or 4 years, and you can win a national championship that way too. That's what Villanova did with Jay Wright. So,
or if you can have 2 NBA players on your team and not make the NCAA tournament, like Romeo Langford and Juwan Morgan.
Yeah, Juwan's a borderline, though. I mean, he was a guy that –
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Didn't he make the tournament with 2 NBA players?
2 NBA players, yeah. But, I mean, there are different levels of NBA players, too. And there are guys – and, listen, I give Juwan a lot of credit for going the hard way. I think when I'm talking about NBA players, I'm talking about probably first-round draft picks, really. Guys that are, 1 through 26. That level of talent.
Let's see. Name and image likeness. I think that has changed. That will change guys leaving, like you talked about. I think that we might see more 2-year guys like Tamar Bates. I think Tamar Bates is a perfect example of a kid that he could be at Indiana for 3, but I think that he's probably a 2-year kid, depending on his development this year. But he's a perfect example. If you can get 2 years out of a kid, and the way sports are today, that level, I think you've done well. I think NIL will help them stay in that extra year. They want that extra year of college, the experience. It's enjoyable. It's fun. You're especially if you're a place like Indiana or a power or a blue blood school like that, it's going to be enjoyable. You're going to get paid. You're going to have fun. You're going to have a lot less stress. You're going to play a lot less games. And you get to have that college experience before going on to play for the rest of your life, to where it will become work. So I don't know. I think that the name and likeness may help keep some of those guys around a little bit longer.
Yeah, you might get a nice car or something like that. You know what I mean? A lot of these people, Ohio State football players and stuff, they're getting these lease deals, I guess, to publicize some of these car dealerships. I don't know if Indiana's going to do that maybe anymore or something, but that would be a good idea, right? I mean,
absolutely. I'm sure that they will.
You could do stuff like that, but I mean, it's yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, but it's still, if you're a projected lottery pick, that's still millions of dollars out there. It's still a lot of money. So I think it depends on where you are. And listen, we don't know about Tamar Bates yet, but he seems like a pretty nice player, really talented kid who will probably be in the rotation. And it looked like when Miller Kopp was certainly out, I guess at that we might call it, if you noticed it, Hoosier Hysteria, Tamar was kind of in that first group, in that starting 5 group, which I thought was kind of interesting as well. That shows you how highly they think of him, that he's going to get, and he got a lot of playing time in the Bahamas as well as one of the first guys off the bench. So.
Absolutely. I've had this conversation a couple times, but I'll have it with you. You're what I would call an outsider. Although it's time to take a break, we'll do that quickly because, see, who's coming up next? Mike's coming up next, so we might as well go ahead and take one. But I thought it was cool. I don't go, from a sports fan's perspective, not even a fan's perspective. I thought it was cool to see Isaiah Thomas, Mike Woodson, and Dane Fife in the candy stripes come out in the candy stripes, which is unusual because I've never seen Mike Woodson play. I didn't get to see Isaiah play in college live. I saw him on TV, but that was it. So to see them, I thought that was kind of cool, and it brought it back together.
Yeah, it was really neat. I remember watching that national championship game, and that was the day that Reagan got assassinated, the assassination attempt. It was that same day, and they were talking about canceling the game, I remember, and or postponing it. And I just remember Isaiah going nuts in that national title game. Which was pretty cool to see, and certainly, a great talent, and good to have him back in the fold. And that story he told about Mike Woodson and taking off his jersey for the last time, and how he was never going to let his team down again. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, Chris mentions that Victor and OG, perfect examples. Victor came here as a 3-star and left here as a number 2 lottery pick, man. So, yeah. And then Ross points out that Romeo hit a game winner 3 last night. So how about that?
Yeah, he really. I'm watching him in the playoffs. He is starting to develop there nicely with the Celtics.
And Tony agrees that, yeah, they looked great in candy straps. Hey, let's take that break, man. Mike DeCourcy is going to join us next. We'll talk about all kinds of things, Ted Lasso included, since Kevin said he tweeted about that. But, hey, make sure you visit our good friends at Southern Stone Restaurant, whether it's a celebration or just a relaxing night away from the kitchen. Try something fresh and new. Southern Stone Restaurant, located at the corner of Rogers and Patterson in Bloomington. They're open for lunch and dinner. Southern Stone offers comfort food with a Southern charm. Enjoy the outdoor patio or inside with a view. Southern Stone has great food, knowledgeable bartenders, and you can catch the IU football and basketball coaches show there each week. Southern Stone Restaurant. No coaches show this week, though, which would be tomorrow night because of the bye week. But you can still go to the restaurant. Make sure you check it out. Back with Mike DeCourcy after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant. Whether you're looking...
Get your source right, Jim. I told you that might.
Yeah, that was weird.
What?
He said me, and it was John.
It said what?
About the Ted Lasso stuff.
Oh yeah. It was John. It was John that ratted out.
Yeah. The tweet I saw from DeCourcy that was good was about Mick Jagger. That was pretty good, about him trolling the Cleveland fans when he was in Pittsburgh. That's pretty funny.
Did you know Mick Jagger's father has a master's degree from the Hyper at IU?
Has or had?
Has, or if he's probably dead, so obviously dead.
That's
so
what I'm saying.
Had.
If he's still with us, man, that's pretty amazing.
Well, he would.
It's amazing.
He could be in his 90s. Mick's only like 73, right?
I guess he could be in his 90s. Let's see. We got to check this out.
Is Mick only 73? I thought he was older than that.
I thought he was 72. I thought the drummer that just died was 74.
No, the drummer that died was 80.
Talk about this man right here.
Unfortunately, we lost Mick's dad in 2007.
He had a degree from IU, a master's degree from IU, Hyper. Yeah, I'm like, so Mick's dad was at the Hyper that I went to? That's crazy. But yeah, that was nuts. I don't know how that ended up happening.
Mick.
What was his name? I forgot now.
His name was Basil.
Basil, that was it, because it was a great English name. Basil Jagger.
And then he went back to England, or what was the deal?
You know what? I forget how I stumbled upon that, but.
Hey, we can talk about this later, Jim, but Kyle's asking if he can move to Thursday this week.
Kyle Neddenrip?
Neddenrip, yeah.
Of course. Whatever he needs, man.
Sweet.
Mick is 78. And he's still rocking. I give him credit.
See, I thought you meant Mick Mars, which is why I pulled that nasty picture up, as we talked
I was
about
like,
him that
who
one
is
time.
that dead person?
That was when we were talking about the old IU mascots, and I don't remember how we got to Mick Mars that day, but that was a weird day, funny day.
How you doing, man, Mr. Mike?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Cannot complain. Just making it happen, man.
All right, come back.
0% APR financing over 48 months and $0 down. Or how about a brand new 2021 Honda Passport? Also 0% APR financing over 48 months and $0 down. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Hey, welcome back on this. Ooh, it's a great Tuesday, but that's okay. Mike DeCourcy's with us. We'll brighten it up. Kevin Brockway as well. Mike, how are you, sir?
I am well, gentlemen. How are you?
Cannot complain, man. We've got a bye week, so I'm looking forward to doing nothing this weekend. Although I'm supposed to go visit my daughter. That's not true completely. I was supposed to go visit my daughter, who is at Ole Miss, a freshman at Ole Miss. I'm like, oh, this will work out perfect. They've got a home game. They're going to play Arkansas. I'm going to go down and see the Grove and all that good stuff. And then the Big Ten decided to have basketball media days this Thursday and Friday and threw a big old wrench in my deal. And I'm like, golly.
What time's the game in at Ole Miss?
I'd have to look it up. It's on Saturday, but I'm like, man, that's a long drive from Indianapolis to old Oxford, Mississippi on Friday night just to get down there to say hi and bye. So
it is a noon game. That kind of wrecks your plans. I can see
that makes it a little bit rougher. But
yes, if it was a night game, I would call you soft. But it's a noon game.
I would still do it. Yeah, because I'm looking forward to that. What an environment that is, and I've heard about, but I've never seen firsthand. Looking forward to it.
Right.
So thought it was going to work out, just not. But that's par for the course. Speaking of which, Big Ten basketball media day is coming up this week. It's kind of jumping upon us because they kind of sprung it on us a little late, and then football's in full swing right now, and it's like, man, I kind of keep forgetting about it. But this Thursday and Friday, Big Ten Media Days will be happening at the Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. So that's kind of a big deal.
It is. It's such a big change from a year ago when, we lost the NCAA tournament, and that was terrible. And then for me, this is a fun day. I mean, I know it's a lot of work and everything, but it's so cool to be back in that environment with a lot of people that I really like. I really like the coaches in the league, and a chance to be around them, and a chance to be around all my friends in the media and meet some players and get a chance to interact a little bit with those who we haven't met before, or to get reintroduced to people that we've spoken to in the past. It's a great, in the past, it's always been a great day. Now it's going to be a great couple of days. In the past, of course, we'd always driven or flown to Chicago, and it had been traditionally at a hotel near the O'Hare Airport. This time, bringing it to the Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I think they really liked the experience of the great visuals that were present at Lucas Oil, which is a beautiful building. And as we've discussed before, the now Gainbridge Fieldhouse is one of the most attractive arenas, modern arenas in all of basketball. So to have them in that environment, to have all the players and all the coaches in that environment, it's going to be a really nice couple of days.
Yeah, I would be shocked if the Big Ten does not permanently move the football media days to Lucas Oil. And I'd be surprised if they don't continue this format in basketball. And I won't say in Indianapolis at Gainbridge, because I know that they like being in Chicago, and they've got the United Center that they could use there. So I could see them rotating it back and forth, or keeping it in Chicago. I don't know. I'm wondering why that they did it in Indy instead of Chicago. Since they could have gone to the United Center, but I'm glad they did. Trust me, it's a much more centralized location, and I'm being selfish, of course, because it's a little over an hour for me, but I hope it stays there.
Well, I think the reason it's there this year is because it's going to be the basketball tournament, the men's basketball tournament is going to be here in Indy this year. So that explains it. Remember when the tournament in 2017, was it? Yeah, 2017, we went to DC and they had it at a hotel in the DC area. 2018, they had it in New York. So all of that sort of, at that time it was at the Garden. But that I don't believe, if I remember correctly, that we used the Garden floor. We used if I remember right, I could be wrong about this. I thought we used like the back part of the Garden to do the work. So, I think it's really cool to do it on the floor. I had a great time at Football Media Day. It was my first. That was really my first ever Football Media Day. I've been in this for a long time, and I've covered college football for 15 years of my career, and I covered Penn State, and they weren't in a league, so they didn't have football media day when I covered them most of the time that I covered them, and then SEC media day I didn't do because we had two people that were ahead of me on the SEC food chain in Memphis. So I never had to do that before. So it was really neat to see it at Lucas Oil and to be around all the football people and in a different environment. And so I really like the idea of doing this in this way rather than in a hotel. I like the whole deal where they put you at a round table and you get a chance to move from place to place to place. I thought that was really good. When I went to Madison Square Garden in 2018, I guess it was technically 2017, but when I went to Madison Square Garden in the fall of 2017 for Big East Media Day, they had the players at little press conference tables, so to speak. And I found that less inviting than the round table environment. We'll see what I don't know what the Big Ten's plan is, but I hope they keep that part of it, the part where you can sort of move from place to place and get and maybe make the players a little bit more comfortable than they are when they're seated behind what's essentially a podium.
Yeah, it's a lot. I enjoy it because you get to have a little bit of access that you normally don't get to have. You get to have a conversation, a face-to-face, whether it's sitting down at a table. I remember when it was in the hotel a couple years ago up in Chicago last, I remember sitting at a table with Tom Izzo at a big old round table.
Yep.
Which was great because you feel like you're sitting at a table just having a conversation. And they seem to get into that. I'm sure they're always protective of what they're saying, but with Tom Izzo, he's always going to give you the stuff anyway. But it just feels better. It's a lot better. You feel like you're getting much better reporting, much better questions and answers and all that. And I think it just provides better opportunity for the fans as well. And I think it all around, it's just a better experience for the players as well. I think it's good for them to get out, especially now you've got NIL and all this stuff. So it all goes into that and everybody's branding and all that good stuff. So
I'm really curious about a lot of different things that we can sort of get a handle on too. I think maybe the most interesting question of all is Purdue has Travion Williams, who's an all Big Ten level player, and they have Zach Edey, who was one of the best players at the U19 World Championships this past summer, playing for Canada, and they both play the same position more or less. And can you play them both at the same time? I can't wait to hear what Matt Painter has to say about that to all of us in the media. What his answer to that question is. How do you do that? How do you play essentially two centers at the same time when the game is moving 180 degrees away from that pretty much everywhere? I think that's a fascinating question that he's got to address, and not just for us, but for himself when he goes to practice every day.
I asked him about that, over the summer for Blue Ribbon, and he talked a lot about defensively how hard it is for Travion to, get out on fours and so forth. Like that would be the issue of playing them at the same time. You put yourself in a bind defensively because so many players are playing, one out, 4 out, 1 in. It's just, he would have to be so much more accountable defensively on the perimeter to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's offensively, it's not a big deal because you post Travion on one block, you keep Edey on the opposite block, and because he's so tall, guys can get in his way, but he's still going to get his share of weak side rebounds. So and if they double Travion with the big, he could just throw it up at the rim and Zach can go get it. So offensively, it's not a huge issue, but defensively, exactly why it's a problem. And honestly, defensively, that's it. That's an issue for a lot of the bigs in the Big Ten. The league has some tremendous big men, and guarding them is a challenge for everybody. Hunter Dickinson, Kofi Coburn, it's really not easy to do. But then those guys got to deal with defensively, and we saw in the Loyola game for Kofi Coburn, he became essentially useless defensively because Loyola was using their terrific center in the high post and above the key. And Kofi was kind of stranded. Yep. And so you can see where for all of the bigs in the Big Ten, especially Kofi, because he has such great potential otherwise, has got to work on his defensive ability, not just at the rim where he can swat down shots at will, but his ability to move his feet along the perimeter. If he can do that, he can play in the NBA for a dozen years. If he can't, he's gonna struggle to get time.
And that underscores the other issue with Trayce Jackson-Davis too, which is why he has to develop a little bit of a perimeter game. So you can draw Kofi out, you can draw Hunter Dickinson out, and it just opens up the floor so much more. And if he can do that, that will help immeasurably because, how many times did we see Kofi Coburn last year against Indiana just take over defensively just because he was able to park in the block and block shots left and right?
Yeah, it became particular teams became a real problem. I think more than anybody. I think Trayce is really happy that Miles Johnson transferred to UCLA. He had enough of that guy. His Miles's great length and strong lower body. It was really hard for Trayce to go against him in the post. Yep. For Trayce professionally as well. He's not going to make a living in the NBA as a 6'9" low post center. He has to be able to step away from the goal and make shots. And I think I think it's in his ability to do that. Does he have to make a ton of threes? Not necessarily. There are guys his size in the league that are not necessarily great 3-point shooters, but that have the ability to handle the ball, which Trayce does, to be able to pass the ball, which Trayce does. You look at Bam Adebayo. He's essentially almost a point guard at times for Miami. And I think Trayce can do a lot of the same things as Bam. He doesn't have Bam's physical strength, but he's got a lot of skill. And I think he can do some of those things. But again, Bam is not necessarily a deep shooter a ton of the time, but he is an effective player in the lane and above the free throw line. And I think that developing those kinds of offensive skills would really help Trayce.
I agree, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they bring that together as we get closer. We had Hoosier Hysteria this past Saturday. It was very cool. Some people have talked about it, but I really, from a sports fan's perspective, I enjoyed seeing Isaiah Thomas, Mike Woodson, and Dane Fife and candy stripes for Indiana. It to me, it sent a message to the fan base that that's what they were trying to do, and I thought that they were successful in that. But in doing what has not happened for several years, there's been a big fracture that obviously got really chasm that got really big during Archie Miller. But even though Tom Crean tried, he really did. He made the effort to bring stuff together, but he was not an IU guy, and I just don't think that he was quite successful in doing that. But now you've got someone who is an IU, who's a Bob Knight guy and all that stuff, and it seems like they're bringing it back together. And Isaiah Thomas was a great selection, and his speech was pretty cool that he gave as well. So I thought that it was a really good night for Indiana to start their regrouping of that program.
Yeah, I think Arch came in with the idea that a lot of what had gone wrong with Indiana over the course of the several years prior to him was involved with the state's high school coaches and the state's summer coaches, and that he and his staff spent an inordinate amount of time repairing that. And they were very effective at that. They did a great job at fixing that fissure. But he had a couple of obstacles. He was left with some players that didn't really suit him, but he didn't run them off. They didn't recruit perimeter offense well enough. They got stuck in the league that was the deepest the Big Ten had ever been, and they were right on that fence where, in an ordinary year like this year, where you got a lot of really good teams, but then you got some bad teams that you should be able to beat. I think he could have maybe succeeded, but because that never worked out, it was hard on him. And Arch is not the dynamic personality that can win you over with that, with like a Calipari where he can talk you into liking him. Arch is going to have to win over a program on wins and losses. That's who he is. And he didn't win enough games here to win over the fans. So, look, all the other stuff is cool. But the number one thing that Mike has to do is win basketball games. And the rest of that stuff's not going to matter. But having said that, what's he done to try to get himself in position to win basketball games? He recruits Miller. He accepts. I don't know what the proper verbiage. he attracts in some way, shape, or form, maybe just his presence, Miller Kopp to come from Northwestern to give them the kind of perimeter shooting threat that they haven't had. He and Indiana hire a coaching staff that understands some of what I talked about before, that connection between IU and the state's coaches. That's so important. And that, obviously personified most by Dane Fife. IU makes sure that there's someone to help Mike by hiring Thad Matta to understand the ins and outs of just being a college coach, not necessarily being a coach. He knows how to coach, but the ins and outs of being a college coach. So everything that's happened and then they go to Bahamas, which was a very wise move to be able to get themselves together before they had to. That took that opportunity and were able to get some games and some practices. So all of that's putting them ahead of where they should be in a lot of ways in the first year of a new coach's regime. And I think it's, but I'm not ahead of where they need to be, because remember, Mike's not a young man. I mean, and IU has, a window here with some very, very good players that they need to take advantage of. And so they need to be ahead of where they would be if they hired a coach who was relatively new to the profession or relatively new to the highest level.
We got to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about Ted Lasso, man. Kevin said he saw a tweet, so we'll talk about that. Take a quick break. Back with more with great Mike DeCourcy right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Whether it's a celebration, I'm going through my book that I do stuff on, Mike, and inside of it are some cards, and I wonder how they got there, but they're in this stupid book, and I'm like going, how are they on this stupid page? Open it up, and that's the first thing I saw. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So you've been watching Ted Lasso?
Oh yeah, I'm up to date. Yes.
Had a very critical tweet.
Did I just see that season 3 is coming out?
Next summer, I imagine. I don't think they have a date on it yet, but they had committed all along to making 3.
Well, but did you? I know you did see this, but that Ted Lasso has come to a licensing deal with the English Premier League.
Yes.
Very smart, I think.
Yeah, I'm surprised it didn't happen before season 2, to be honest with you. I mean, they've always used the names, like they play Tottenham Hotspur, they play Manchester City, that sort of thing. But, now they can use every single logo, whatever, that they weren't able to do before. So I'm surprised Premier League didn't jump on it after last summer, after Ted became such a hit.
I missed the character that Jason Sudeikis played that this was based on, because I keep seeing.
Yeah, in the promos when the Premier League was first taken over to NBC, I think around 2012 or 2013. They did promos, and they were very funny. They joked about him being named head coach of Tottenham Hotspur, even though he didn't know anything about soccer. He thought he was going to coach football, and it was funny stuff. And the premise on which it's based is obviously lifted from Major League, but from there on, it took a pretty fresh direction, a very disappointing direction as far as I'm concerned over the course of this season, though.
You're not the only one, from what I've read. I just finished it myself. But
so are you up to date on season 2?
Yeah, the last one was when Ted got all emotional, but I kept reading something about Nate doing something. I didn't see. What did he?
Well, you might not be up to date then. You might not be up to date. You may not be up to date.
How many episodes are there?
There are 12 this year.
Okay, I don't think I am then. I'm not seeing all the episodes. I got to go back and look. I don't think I am then.
The most recent episode, you would have seen. Let me see what was distinctive about the most recent episode.
I know there's something's happened that I don't know about.
Did you see the photo shoot with Keely and Roy for Vanity Fair? Did you see that?
No.
Okay, so you have not seen the most recent episode.
All right, here we go.
My future holds, because you're my BFF. Banking friends forever.
Right now, get free checking with online banking and all the products of big city banks with hometown service.
With First Federal, you can do that.
This segment is brought to you by Aurora Specialty Sleep Clinic. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Hey, welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, this segment brought to you by Aurora Specialty Sleep Clinic. Does you or anyone you know have a sleep problem, an apnea, sleep apnea, snoring? Then you need to go see our friends at Aurora Specialty Sleep Clinic in Indy. Former dentist and IU basketball player Steve Green, Bob Knight's first recruit, along with Brian Evans, are waiting to help you get the sleep you need. Very cool compact device like a teeth whitening tray. It works for me. I can guarantee it that it works for me. Go try it for you. Royal Specialty Sleep Clinic located at 4745 Statesman Drive, Indianapolis, or find them at aurorasleep.com. Back with Mike DeCourcy and Kevin Brockway here on Indiana Sports Beat. Ted Lasso, man, is just one of the most popular shows of the last year. They won the Emmys. They won Jason Sudeikis won an award. Had Hannah Waddingham, who plays the owner, won an award. And my favorite, Brett Goldstein, who is Roy Kent, of course, won an award. He was not originally cast for that role. He was writing for that show and turned into I think he was a comedian, but he ended up. I can't remember if they said they had someone else cast for that role, but he was not originally cast for that role. I'm like, man, I can't imagine anybody else playing that role of his.
He's tremendous and has been the best part. He still remains the best part of season 2, which I wrote a tweet on Sunday night. I think it was that I've been overall disappointed in season 2. I think they're trying way too hard to force conflict and that sort of thing. The season was the first season was a really breezy, inventive, fresh, optimistic idea, and they felt like they had to make some grand artistic statement. And I think they've fallen short in a lot of areas. There's still a lot of funny stuff because the people who are doing the show are brilliantly funny. And there is if you have not seen all of season 2 yet, there is a scene there is a funeral in, I think it's episode 10 that there's like 17 different things that are hilarious about it, but one specific to men and their fashion choices that is just absolutely drop down hilarious. But so there's still stuff like that, but I think by and large that the general tone of the season has been overly ambitious, and I'd rather them be moderately ambitious and remain hilariously funny than to be overly ambitious and for the humor to just sort of sneak through the cracks here and there.
Yeah, I'm enjoying a lot of most people are. I thought I'd finished the season, but apparently I knew that it didn't seem like I had, but the episodes are apparently not showing up on what I'm looking at, but I'm gonna have to go back and track that down. I'm looking forward to seeing what all is happening because I'm missing it, but I've enjoyed the heck out of it. And I used to could not stand soccer. I probably told you that before until my daughter, who played all through high school, played. And I remember taking her to a game. It was in Louisville at the time, a competitor of the Indy 11 at that level, and watching these guys. And I was up close and personal and seeing, not that they run, how freaking hard that they were running. And I was like, damn. I mean, non-stop. And I'm like, oh. And then I got it. You have to see it in person, and not a no offense, but not a boys or girls high school game or a low level team, which that'll be fun for the little kids. But if you really want to see what it's about, you've got to see a professional team, and I would actually say that level right before the top level, because those guys are all trying so hard to get up.
Right.
But it is, you see the athleticism, you see how hard that it is. It is not easy. And that's where I gained a different perspective. And I started enjoying it more than my daughter did. She didn't watch soccer. I guarantee you, she never watched a soccer match in her life. And she played for all those years. And I'm always, hey man, did you see so-and-so's playing? No. I'm like, I'd find myself watching a soccer match where before I couldn't stand it. But once you learn it you have to learn the rules. And I'm not in favor of the offsides rule. I'm like, hey man, it's your job to cover me. If you don't cover me, that's on you. So I don't understand that one. And if you're not,
the offside rule exists so that like guys don't stand right by the goal and there's never any action. It's the same in hockey. Like you'd never move. And so it makes it a flowing game instead of a static game. I
think you should be forced. You have to go across the center line. And then once you do that, you're free. And it's up to the defender to keep track of you, man.
Here's an interesting thing. What if you had offsides in basketball? You wouldn't have those cherry pickers. You know what I mean? Those guys that are.
Well, that's what he's talking about.
That's only useful in pickup basketball. You know, I will say that that if you are interested or getting interested, the United States men have 3 games in the next 9 days now, starting Thursday in their World Cup qualifying cycle. They start Thursday. They play in Austin, Texas against Jamaica. Then they go to Panama for a game Sunday night. And then next Wednesday, I believe it is, they play in Columbus against Costa Rica. So you've got a chance to really get interested and engaged in a team that most of the people listening would have a vested interest in.
And I didn't plan on talking much about soccer, but it seems like the support has plateaued for soccer, or at least for high-level soccer in the United States. And I think that's mainly because the men aren't winning. If you don't win, you don't draw attention, but it seems like it's plateaued, I should say.
I don't know. I mean, when you think about it, think about the number of new Major League Soccer teams that are coming online. Nashville is 2 years old, I think now. We've got St. Louis coming. We've got Charlotte coming. There continues to be interest in the sport around the country. There's a lot of angst about the men's team because they didn't qualify for the World Cup in 2018. And I'll tell you how extreme the angst is. I mean, okay, so they only are allowed to field 11 players and then make 5 subs during the game. So that's 16 players you essentially need to have. And I think game day rosters, I'm not sure. I think they're 20 for this round of qualifying. I'm not 100% sure on that, but they called 27 players to camp for these 3 games. And then one of them, John Brooks, got injured. He's the most experienced defender on the team. Did not have a good window in September, but he's the most experienced defender. So the U.S. Soccer said, well, we're not going to call anybody else in right now because we've got 4 guys to play the only 2 spots, and we've got 3 games. And if somebody gets hurt or sick or whatever, we can just call somebody up. But they are going crazy on Twitter because they're not calling anybody up to be the 5th center back. So the interest is still there. It's still passionate. They're getting in many cases over the edge. And I can see what you're saying about the growth of the sport. But remember, the growth of soccer interest is fractured in so many different directions. Women's game, women's pro league, women's overseas, women's Champions League starts today. People are talking about that. You've got the men in Spain, Italy, England, France, Germany that had all of whom have some following here, plus Major League Soccer. So I think the difference is there's not one central place where it all funnels into. And I think that's why you might think that the interest has plateaued.
And I'm trying to get a grip as a novice the Premier League has 20 teams in it.
20 teams.
And what's the league below that where you get relegated to?
It's called Championship.
The Championship League. So the Championship League is the lower level. I sound like
that's
Ted
the next
Lasso.
level.
I sound like
Yes.
Ted Lasso right now. So the
Yes.
Championship League is not your top league.
Yes, it is funny. It is funny that they call it that because it sounds more important. But I guess you have to dissect the English language. Is Premier better than Championship? I don't know, but that's how it is. So it's Premier, Championship, and then I don't know what they call this, the third division. Who knows?
And then in the United States, is it still the North American Soccer League?
In the United States, it's the USL, the United Soccer Leagues. So it's USL, and they have a USL 1 and a USL 2.
So is that the same as the Premier League and Champions League?
The difference is the difference. No, the Championship. Don't confuse Championship with Champions League. The difference in the United States is that there is no relegation. So although those leagues exist as minor leagues,
They're just minor leagues.
You can't get out that way. You can get out the other way, going out of business, but you can't go out and get out.
Let's see. So is the USL top level comparable to the Premier League?
Oh gosh, no.
Are they comparable to the Champions League?
No.
Wow.
I mean, no. I mean, the soccer here is not as good as it is over there.
Right.
You're getting confused. The USL is actually level 2, Jim. The MLS is the top
MLS
level.
is the top level, yeah.
Major League
USL
Soccer
is below the MLS.
USL is below that. There, it's this. It would be the figurative similar to the Championship, but it's not as good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like in the United States, what is the top
Major League Soccer?
Yeah, MLS, yeah.
MLS.
That's okay. So that's what is that comparable to the Premier League?
Yes. It in form, but not in function, but not in form.
So will they be comparable to the Champions League?
No, Champions League is the best of all the European leagues.
Oh, I thought that was the relegated teams.
No, that's the Championship. This is really a good skit we're doing here.
It really is,
like who's
because
on first.
and think that this is fake. It's not. I sound like Abbott and Costello. And,
Yes.
and he's the straight man, and I'm the comedian without trying to be comedian because I'm just dumb.
How about
So
this?
it is the
I am
Championship.
dying laughing behind this.
Second
This is
level
what I was
England,
sharing.
second level England soccer, is it comparable to MLS or no?
Well, I guess where I was trying to go is, will there ever be a World Series?
Technically there is. It's called the Club World Cup, and it is the winner of the Champions League, the CONCACAF Champions League, the Asian Cup champion, I think they call it. What the South America, is it Copa? Do they take Copa Libertadores or Sudamericana? I don't know which one, but so it's all of those. Exactly, Forrest, you're right on. They take all those, and in past years they've played the tournament in late December, early January. It only takes about a week, 10 days to play the tournament, so it's not really as involved as some others. But so they do have it. It's never been that big a deal. Like the team that wins the Champions League from Europe goes over and sort of like, do we really have to be here? We got 10 other things we're more worried about. And then for others, like the Asian champion, a South American champion, or the CONCACAF champion, they're really into it because it's their chance to prove themselves against the best.
Yeah, I know people will say, well, it's just too difficult to understand. Well, it's really not, because if you were over there, you would understand it just like you understand the difference between the NBA, the G League, the NCAA, whatever else is going on. You just know those things because you're here.
Jim, I didn't know any of this stuff when I was 30 years old. I didn't know any of it. And I got hooked on the World Cup in 1990. And then so to me, it was like, I'm 30 years old, and it's like I'm 6 again because I'm learning all this stuff that I don't know. That's why for me, soccer was really fun to learn about. Like when I first learned about baseball when I was 6 or 7, and I learned about batting average and RBIs and all that kind of stuff, and the World Series, et cetera, et cetera. And then they created the playoffs. I'm old enough to remember when there were no playoffs. There was no NLCS. So I think that for those who say it's too complicated, to me, it's more like this is a chance to experience something you've never experienced and to learn something that you've never thought about learning about. And I will say that the one thing about soccer that I can't say about any other sport, it's taken me literally around the world. I've been to Germany, England, France, all to see games. I've been to Brazil to cover the 2014 World Cup. Can't say that about hoops, man. As much as I love hoops, it didn't get me to Brazil. So there's that as well, that the appeal of getting a chance to travel a little bit and experience other sporting cultures, that really is a cool part of becoming a soccer fan.
Who is your favorite team?
Liverpool in England. And that was I got a chance to go there in 2013 as an anniversary present for my wife, and it was absolutely magical.
Oh, second place, Liverpool.
Got a good team, really good team.
They don't have names. I'm like, they don't have nicknames, do they? It's just
technically Liverpool. No. Some of the teams have nicknames. They call themselves, like Liverpool is the Reds, Manchester United, the Red Devils. So they like Wolverhampton Wanderers call themselves Wolves. So they're different teams have little nicknames, but technically they don't. Liverpool FC is the name of the club, unlike the Cincinnati Reds, who are the Cincinnati Reds.
As far as the World Cup, I think that's bad for novice soccer fans in the U.S. to watch, because it puts a very bad taste in your mouth. The early games, where all the flopping that goes on, that is just maddening. I know that is a part of soccer, but before I was really into, I was like, it drove me nuts. I'm like, keep playing. Leave that guy on the ground. Just screw him. Keep on.
They've gotten better at that. They've gotten better at that. Unless it's a head injury, a lot of times they'll leave you there. Unless it's a real foul, in which case, then they'll call it. But it's like in basketball. When a guy goes to the lane and he goes like this, so like, oh look, I was fouled. It's kind of like that. There's a reward to laying there on the ground like you were hurt, because you might get the other team a yellow card, and so that's why guys do it.
Now, do they have that in soccer like they do now in basketball, the flopping rule?
They do, yes, and you could be yellow carded for flopping, yes.
There you go. We've spent so much time talking about stuff that really means nothing. It was just fun today. I didn't get to talk about what you're working on, what you have coming. I have an article coming up today on how the U.S., for those games, that window that I talked about, the U.S. men's national team, how they replaced their two most gifted players, Gio Reyna and Christian Pulisic, neither of whom is healthy enough to play in these 3 games. So they've got to win 3 important games without their 2 best players. Who's going to step up to take those roles? So I've got an article about that coming later today. And then I'll be at Media Day Thursday and Friday writing about hoops. We will be there, and we'll see Mike. Looking forward to it. We'll be, of course, coming live Friday from Gainsbridge Fieldhouse. Make sure I keep getting that right. That was the easiest switch I think I've ever had. I don't know why. It usually takes me a while when there's a change of stadium names or something like that. It's like, oh, it's so hard. This one has been pretty easy, and I don't know why, because they purposely left the other name in place while they were searching for the new name to make it, you're saying it even longer, but I don't know why, but it's really easy this time.
You're doing great, Jim.
Mike, we appreciate you, brother, so much. Make sure you check out all of his writing at the Sporting News. He's also on the Big Ten networks as basketball season approaches, and Fox. Make sure you follow him there as well. Give him a follow on Twitter. Mike, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you, man.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you Thursday.
Absolutely. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat with Kevin Brockway right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
If you're in the market for
Southern Stone.
Man, I wish we could have had a behind-the-scenes camera on me during the whole which league is which. My gosh, that's the hardest I'd laugh not being in the show.
Well, you should have put it on.
MLS.
It would have been intrusive though, because it's not like it would have been silent, you know.
Well, that adds to the show, I think. It's like sound effects, man. So do you know all this stuff?
Not to the extent of Mike DeCourcy, but I know quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the UEFA Champions League. What the hell?
That's what he's talking about. The UEFA Champions League
what
is
does
the
that
one where
stand
they
for?
all
The
come
United
together.
European Football Association Champions League.
Yeah. And the championship is the second league of England. Is what he was. There's a championship in the Champions League. I know it's very confusing.
So you got the Premier League, the Champions League,
and then everything else for England. The Champions League is not England; it's all of Europe.
Right.
So in England specifically, it's the Premier League and then the Championship.
Oh, England! The Premier League is just England. Great Britain.
Yes.
Yeah, Premier League is just England. Yeah.
Great Britain, I would say.
Great Britain.
Either way.
United Kingdom, the UK.
There you go. I don't know if we're going to have Chronic Hoosier today, but just thought I'd throw that out there. Because I haven't heard from him, he's usually in by now. It's 10:04.
We could talk football, Tom Allen, right?
Oh, yeah. We haven't done that yet, have we?
No.
Oh, yeah. We haven't done that yet.
Sounds good. We can do that. I'm going to be out of town next week, by the way.
On Tuesday?
Yeah. So I'm not going to be available on Tuesday next week. Yeah. I'll be flying back from Florida that day.
Florida.
Yeah, leave on Friday.
I can't wait to have a bye week this week. I enjoy football, but I'm glad to not have to watch.
I know, but they were supposed to do Big Ten Media Day today and tomorrow in the middle of the week. They've always done it in the middle of the week. Why are they doing it Thursday and Friday? Totally.
It's just not Saturday.
I know, yeah, but still, it kind of stinks that they're doing it Thursday and Friday. They should have done it midweek, and that would have given us a full weekend.
That's true. All right, here we go.
Have a long list of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back. It is Tuesday. Kevin Brockway with me here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. I'm looking at I just sent out a tweet, but I saw that someone had posted defensive stop rate for college football. Number one, Georgia, 93.4%. That's pretty damn good. They're giving up 0.26 points per drive on the season. Number two, Iowa, 85%, giving up less than a point per drive. Here's very interesting. Number three, South Alabama. Ring a bell to you? The head coach there, Kane Womack, Indiana's defensive coordinator last season. Number four, Cincinnati, a team that Indiana's already played. So Indiana's already played two of the four. Their defensive coordinator's at number three. And then you've got, how about Nebraska in at number 8, 81.9%. And then Penn State is number 10 at 81%. So Indiana has already played three teams, three of the top defensive teams in the country. They should have beaten Cincinnati. That drives me nuts, that game. It'll just drive me nuts all season. But
where's Indiana on that list?
You know what? It's a good question. Let me expand it on out, because that is a good question. Wow, a lot further down than I thought. I haven't gotten to them yet, or I've missed them. That can't be correct. Holy crap.
What?
Give me a guess number where they are.
Out of 100, I'd say in the 50s, maybe.
75.
Wow.
75th. Yeah. They're behind App State, North Carolina, Charlotte, North Texas, Middle Tennessee, Washington State, UTEP, Bowling Green, Louisiana, West Virginia, Arizona, Mississippi State, SMU, Maryland. which that's not a good sign.
They've had to deal with a lot of short fields because of turnovers, but I think this defense has
The
played.
defense is way better than what they're appearing. It's because the offense is giving them nothing, no help whatsoever.
Yeah.
The defense is way better than what it appears to be.
Yeah, eight quarters without a defensive touchdown. 8 quarters without an offensive touchdown scored Big Ten play right now. Iowa, Penn State. 8 quarters, no touchdown, 6 points in 2 Big Ten games. That is brutal offense, and that's the bye week. You got to figure things out, and they've taken some hits. DJ Matthews, not Penix, who certainly wasn't playing very well anyway in league play, but 9 of your first 10 incompletions in that game against Penn State. I mean, you couldn't establish any kind of rhythm early in that game. You get the ball at the, Raheem Lane gives you a golden opportunity with a good interception early in that game where you have the ball in the red zone, you have it inside the 4, and then you can't convert there. 4th and 1. I know that they didn't do the Penix scramble this time, but the hand 4th and 1. Why not try a little play action there? Roll Peyton Hendershot out. And because you've proven that you're not a good short yardage team, certainly against a lot of these elite, defenses where you're just not blocking, and the offensive line play has been mediocre to poor throughout the whole season.
Well, getting back to this, they're 12th out of 14 Big Ten teams in front of only Illinois and Northwestern.
12th in what, stop rate?
Yes.
Yeah, that's surprising because they have. I think, Penn State game, I mean, they gave the offense every opportunity to, get the ball back and do some things. But, eventually a defense wears down, as you know. I mean, time of possession is such
giving up almost right at 2 points a drive.
But you can't – I think that when you can't establish a run game, which Indiana has not, certainly in some of these games – against the higher level competition, when you can't run the football, you can't grind out the clock. I mean, the time of possession eventually gets you too, and it wears down the defense. But Micah McFadden and Cam Jones, and I mean the front 7 of Indiana is playing it with Ryder Anderson now. I mean, they're playing at a pretty high level. And the back end, the secondary, they missed Jamar Johnson, the takeaway aspect of it, even though Raheem Lane had an interception. They didn't play with Tywod Mullen in that game against Penn State. And I thought the secondary and, Reese Taylor went down the first half. And I still thought the secondary played reasonably well. I mean, Dotson had a couple plays, but he's going to get those. But, you have a goal line stand. It's a 24-0 game. And, I mean, if you just score a little bit, you probably make it a game in the fourth quarter. But you just, you can't. You can't be that inept and that impotent on offense and expect for it to, expect to compete. Sooner or later you're going to wear down as a team.
Yeah, they're only stopping 67% of the drives, which let's see, 61. What is that number right there? All right, so they've only faced 61 drives, as opposed to Iowa, who's faced 70 and is stopping at an 85% rate. Let's see.
Yep.
But see, South Alabama doing it better. They've only faced 52 drives, which means their offense is playing better. Their offense is on the field more often.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're getting better balance.
Yeah.
Nebraska doing it at a higher rate, 72 drives and 81%. So their defense is vastly improved. Penn State, 64 drives, very close. Michigan, 58, and they're at 80%. So their defense is vastly improved. That's not good news for Indiana fans as this offense continues to struggle, that other teams' defenses has improved and their offenses are already good enough. Going to be a problem.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it's going to be telling. A couple of weeks will be telling. Michigan State, you're coming off a bye week, and that's going to, and then you have Ohio State after that. So it doesn't get any easier. You got 2 top 25 teams coming to Memorial Stadium the next 2 weeks. And there's a lot that's going to have to get fixed. But when you take a look at the back end of the schedule, other than Michigan, you've got a lot of winnable games. But I think the big question is, how banged up are you going to be at the second half of the season? And that kind of will to compete, where is that going to be also? Like, are you going to mail it in because of the fact that, you came in with these top 25 aspirations, playing in a, major bowl game, and now you're going to be scrounging just to get to the Quick Lane Bowl or something, or the Pinstripe Bowl or something like that in the second half of the season, or do you just check it in and check out mentally? That'll be a big test to Tom and his staff and everyone, just to keep guys motivated, I think.
Well, speaking of Tom, let's hear. We were able to normally. Mondays are the press conference day. Did not have that yesterday because of the bye week, but had a Zoom one instead. We were updated on several things. Tim Baldwin, Michael Penix, of course, he has that AC injury. So he's, in essence, out for now. I'll be honest, I will be shocked to see him return for two reasons. Number one, the injury is tough to deal with, and it's going to take probably the rest of the season to deal with. The offense has done nothing, and I'm not saying it's his fault, but the offense has done nothing under him. It's time to try something different, period, and that's being forced because of the injury. But if there's any success whatsoever, there is no way that you can take Tuttle out of the starting lineup, even if Penix comes back.
I agree. This is Tuttle's time to win the job, and I think that we'll see if he rises to the occasion.
And I really wonder, seeing Michael Penix Jr., and I hate it for him, but to see him struggle the way he has this season, and it's not just him. There's a lot of things that go with this. Offensive line problem has plagued. I don't know that they've progressed well. I don't know that they've been developed well, the quarterback situation. So it's all not on him. But I don't know what his future holds now. You've got Tuttle coming up. You've got Donovan McCulley. You've got Josh Hoover coming in from Texas, who is killing it down there. And now you will have basically, in essence, a fourth consecutive season-ending injury for Michael Penix.
Yeah.
And even though he has another year of eligibility, I just don't know, what do you do with that?
Yeah. Well, you want to know what? The fact that, Michael Penix is forced to scramble out of the pocket and gets tackled and gets injured, or the fact last year that Jack Tuttle got a separated shoulder in that game against Ole Miss and wasn't effective the rest of the game because he got hit that's an indictment on your offensive line. That's if I'm an offensive lineman, I take that personally, that my quarterback's getting whacked around, and you take accountability. I mean, that's a problem. That's not like, that's something that, your quarterback keeps getting hit. He's going to get hurt. And, that's the onus on Darren Hiller, and that's the onus on, the five guys in front. You got to protect your quarterback here because, listen, Ohio State's going to be coming after Jack Tuttle. Michigan State's going to be coming after Jack Tuttle. You better protect him. Otherwise, you're going to have Donovan McCulley in the game, a green freshman, because you don't really have anyone left. And then you have a bunch of walk-ons after that. So,
yeah, and the one thing, Tuttle's tough, man. The first thing that happened to him when he came into that game is he took a shot and got planted. I mean, he took a defensive end's dream shot.
Yep.
And just planted that dude, and he got right up and continued. But he's done that. I've seen him take hits, and he's a little tougher, and he's not afraid to run. That's the difference. He's not afraid to do it, and so it gives them an option that they haven't had.
Yeah, but you want to know what, Jim? Like, why should Tuttle be planted like that? Why can't your offensive line block better so that he has a clean pocket? That's my point. Is that this has got to be on the five guys up front to protect your quarterback, to make sure he gets through a game, a season healthy. I think that's a problem. I think that's a big onus and a big issue. Create a clean pocket for the guy so that he can make the throws downfield and he can, get through this unscathed.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about that stuff later on. But, hey, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hear from Tom Allen and about the Tim Baldwin situation and the lack of depth. Man, they're hurting at running back right now.
Yeah.
The running game has not manifested itself yet so far this year, and now they've lost 2 out of their top 3. We'll talk about that and more when we come back. Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by the great folks at Andy Moore Honda. If you're in the market for a new car, Andy Moore Honda has the deals for you. You can get a brand new 2021 or 22 Honda Pilot with all the trims, 0% APR financing over 48 months, $0 down, or a 2021 Honda Passport, same deal. 0% APR financing, 0 down. Get more to your door at andymorehonda.com. Go see the guys at Andy Moore Honda. Tell them you heard it here, and you'll be going to an IU basketball game. All right, we're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Whether it's a celebration or just
Dun, 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 dun.
About to get a Kevin Brockway serenade again this week.
Nah. Singing the blues.
The Tuesday Blues.
I know.
It's Blues Day.
Did they say anything about parking passes for Big Ten Media Day or no? I'm going to check in on that. Like, what are we going to do about parking there? We're going to have to pay for it?
No, man, it's that. Oh,
What?
That's a good question.
Yeah. I'll bother them about that today.
Go park underneath that tunnel with all the homeless people.
I usually like to park in that. There's a $7 lot that I like to park at that's on the other side of the Ascension. It's an uncovered lot, but it's right by the train tracks, but that's where I usually like to go. It's not bad.
All right, coming back.
Honda of Bloomington has the deals for you. How about a brand new 2021 or 2022 Honda Pilot? All the trims for 0% APR financing over 48 months and $0 down. Or how about a brand new 2021 Honda Passport? Also 0% APR financing over 48 months and $0 down. Get more to your door with andymorehonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat brought to you by Cheryl Sizemore, Remax Indy Home Pros. If you're looking for a home in the Indy area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Cheryl has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore at 317-298-0961. That's 317-298-0961. Or Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat on this Tuesday. Kevin Brockway with me. Tim Baldwin, the second of the top 3 running backs for Indiana, into the portal. And I'll be honest with you, this is pretty easy to rat out to figure out what happened here. He fumbled the ball against Cincinnati in a crucial moment that could have helped Indiana win that game, which would have probably really turned their season around, because that's going to be a game that continues to haunt them all year. It might be the game that ends up keeping them out of a bowl game. But then in the next game at Western Kentucky, he nearly fumbled again, got it back, but that would have been probably a game-losing turnover. Western Kentucky was, I don't know, that who knows what would have happened, but that could have happened there. He gets one carry at Penn State, and then he goes into the portal. Monday, in talking to Tom Allen, that's the question that I asked him, was about this. And you could tell that he wasn't happy. This is just me gleaming from how he talked, Kevin, and his body language, basically. He wasn't happy that he left. I don't think they were happy that Samson James left, but Samson James had kind of been a wanderer of sorts. But because Tom Allen talks about finding the right fits of players, the right player that for their program and all this, and that's so important to him. And I think he feels let down. I'm almost positive he feels let down when he puts that hope and trust into a player and they do this on what I'm guessing is leaving because they're not getting the ball or whatever the case may be. But let's hear what Tom Allen had to say when I asked him that question about Tim Baldwin.
Well, there's no doubt it affects our depth without question. And so other young men are going to have to step up. We do have several in that room. David Holland, as I mentioned, as a freshman, will have opportunities to be able to step into that role. Charlie Spiegel, another young man that's here, has been here in his second season, understands our system, big, strong young man that has done a good job for us, and so he'll get his opportunity as well. And so, so to me, it's other guys will have a chance to step up and fill that void. So bottom line is that this is a football team. And I want guys that are all in, bought in, and ready to do whatever is necessary and whatever the role may be, that they're the guys that we can count on, that they're smart, tough, and dependable. And that dependability piece is a huge thing. So, that to me is this is the awesome thing about this sport. That's why I love football so much, that we always say two things reveal who you really are. And that is over time and with pressure. And time and pressure reveal who we are, and they expose things. And so to me, it gives us a chance to really know who our players are and who we can count on. And when things get hard, you want to be able to have guys that you know that you trust and you can depend on them. So that's what we're figuring out as this process goes through, and that's what adversity does. So excited to see this team respond and see who steps up into those roles.
I don't think that he left much to the imagination there. I mean, I think he was pretty dead on what he was saying, and that on what I said, they're all about the fits and the time and the pressure. That's how you form diamonds, time and pressure. And that's what he's talking about. That the guys that they thought that were good fits, not good fits, and he's referring to Tim Baldwin, who basically didn't get his way, not getting the carries, whatever. I don't know what's going on in that room. I'm not in the room, but you can pretty much ascertain it by his comments and body language.
Yeah, and don't forget, Baldwin was a guy that averaged 6.1 yards per carry last year as a freshman. He was a nice kind of story in terms of a guy that really, had some and ran for over 100 yards against Maryland. So he showed some talent and he showed some ability. But ball security is so important, and certainly that game against Cincinnati, where he really started out in that Cincinnati game running the ball well. And I thought he would accept that role as a number 2 back for a year because Stephen Carr was a grad transfer, but obviously was upset with that role. And you've got some guy. Davion Irvin Poindexter is an interesting guy. Walk on who's worked his way up. I think he assumes that number 2 role. I think they trust him blocking, and even that kid, Chris Childers, the transfer from Indiana State, has seen a carry or two here and there. So you got those two. You got Charlie Spiegel, and you got David Holloman, who now becomes the second scholarship guy, though. And I think he's a guy that is going to be, interesting to see, because we heard a lot of good things about him in camp. He might get some opportunities too to show a little bit of his worth, but a lot of it's Stephen Carr, and a lot of it is, like I said, the 5 guys up front. You got to open holes for guys, and Michigan State will be very telling in terms of that in a couple of weeks. Not just running the football too with Michigan State, but stopping the run, because they have the best running back in the league right now in Kenneth Walker III, another guy who's really burst on the scene. You talk about a back that's burst on the scene and done a really good job. That guy has really fueled Michigan State's turnaround as much as anyone this season.
And there was a lot of people just talking about it. ESPN's College Game Day this week, going to the Red River rivalry between Texas and Oklahoma down in Dallas, as opposed to the top 5 showdown between Iowa and Penn State. And I don't understand why they're up. Dude, ESPN doesn't give a crap about Big Ten teams. They don't carry the Big Ten. Yep. They carry the SEC. They carry the ACC. They carry the Big 12. They're not going to promote a Fox game over an ESPN or an ABC game. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And what happened to College Game Day? Used to always go to games that were played at 8:00 at night.
Yeah.
Both of these games, one's at noon and one's at 3:30.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Red River Shootout is a great traditional rivalry game. So there's something to be said for that. But it's interesting because I did a story about 15 years ago when I was in Gainesville, where they gave me some great behind-the-scenes access on ESPN College Game Day. It was the week that Florida played LSU, back when they were both top 10 teams. And that used to be the argument too, because that was a CBS game. That was a 3:30 game. Wasn't an ESPN televised game, but they went. And back then, that was the big argument. Do you televise the best game of the week, which in this case would be Penn State, Iowa, because it's 5-4, or do you televise, is game day supposed to be at the best game of the week, or is that game day supposed to be at the best game that you televise because you promote? And Chris Fowler, back then, I mean, he had a little bit of an issue with it. He thought it should be the best game every week, regardless of the television partners. But I think ESPN in the last 15 years has probably gone more the branding route. The best game that they're going to televise is the game that they're going to be at. But they were at Iowa State. Was that an ABC game? So that involved a Big Ten team. And of course, Iowa beat that was the Cyhawk game, and Iowa won. It was a big game, but they were at a Big Ten game then. So
yeah, it's so I don't just, who cares? Who cares if College Game Day is there, especially with such a short turnaround to that game? But it's who gives a rat's butt. But it is. That's going to be a great game. Speaking of which, I just talked about the defensive stop rates, or those two teams are playing this Saturday in Iowa City. That is going to be a great game to watch. And
here's the difference.
I give Iowa the edge.
Here's the difference between Penn State and Iowa's defense. Iowa's defense is doing what Indiana's defense did last year, which is turnovers. I mean, they've been turning guys over at an incredible rate. I mean, they turned Maryland over 7 times in that game. Obviously, they turned Indiana over 3 times in the opener. That's, their bread and butter. They're really setting their offense up well with these short fields because they're turning the ball over. They're getting the takeaways. And Indiana, again, you look at Indiana this year, how many takeaways? 5 or 6, which is respectable. And Raheem Layton had a good early one in that Penn State game. But again, you don't cash in on it because you go for it on 4th and 1. You have a bad play call that doesn't work. But that was last year. So much of it is turnovers. And I remember Miami in 2017 under Rick, the one probably the best season they've had, one of the better seasons they had in this century in the last 15 years was the turnover chain. That was the year that they were turning guys over at an amazing rate and creating short fields. And they got all the way to the ACC title game and got thumped by Clemson. But you turn guys over and you make it a lot easier on your offense, you're going to do really well. That's what Iowa has done tremendously well this year. I saw one of those Talia passes on I think it was Friday night. One of their safeties made a great play where he just tipped it. I mean, that ball was thrown on a rope, but he got his hand up, he tipped it. Tip drill led to an interception with the back free safety, and that's what Iowa's doing. They're turning guys over.
Yeah, and doing it at a very, very high rate. So they started doing it right off the bat at the start of the season, and that gives you nothing but confidence from the get-go. And man, they're continuing. I hate that Iowa and Penn State are playing right now, because I think that is going to end up being the Big Ten championship game. But we'll see a rematch. We'll
see. I'll tell you what, Ohio State is starting to get right. I know it was only Rutgers, but they looked pretty. They looked like a machine on Saturday. So I think Ohio State, Penn State, that's going to be an interesting game. That's going to be in Columbus by the end of the year. I still think that Ohio State has a chance to get back in this thing, and they're starting to solve some things on defense. But I think Ohio and Michigan too looks very strong this year under Harbaugh. Their
defense has improved.
Aiden Hutchinson is playing really well. So it could be a 3-horse race in the East: Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. I think all three of those teams.
Hey, don't forget Michigan State. Aren't they undefeated still?
Michigan State's undefeated, but I thought that Nebraska exposed some things, that Nebraska's starting to play better in the West, but I don't think Michigan State is quite at that level yet, talent-wise, where Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State are.
Didn't they put a bunch of points on the board this last week? Didn't they score 50 points against whoever they played?
Well, no, they played Western Kentucky. It was 48, but they gave up 31, and their defense,
the same amount that Indiana gave up.
Their defense still has hold. Yeah, but I mean, don't forget, Indiana went down there. Western Kentucky went
but
there.
That's an offense that they're not going to face the rest of the season, though.
Yeah, no, both teams. But I mean, the fact that Western Kentucky went on the road and still scored 31 at Michigan State tells you that Michigan State has some holes defensively. The other thing that Michigan State has is an amazing punt returner in Jaden Reed, who has already returned 2 back-to-back weeks, returned punts for touchdowns against Nebraska and Western Kentucky. Special teams. That's going to be huge next week. And KCT Garden's cover units, which have already given up a touchdown on a kickoff return against Kentucky, that's going to be big next week as well. I mean, Indiana's coverage units on special teams are going to have to be on point with him in order to, not give up that kind of a big play that could turn around the game.
Yeah, I'm looking up the games that are all coming up this weekend. I haven't pulled that up yet, and I'm just curious. Oh, wow. Wisconsin might as well be having a bye week. They're playing. That cannot be That cannot be football. That has to be basketball. Really? Where's Indiana? Yeah, that has to. I don't know what that is. Never mind. Pulled up the wrong thing. But Indiana gets a bye week this week, and they get 2 weeks to work on this offense.
Wisconsin's got Illinois, by the way.
But what can they get done? I don't see how they fix the problems that they're having, because the problems they're having go deeper than time. It's not time. They have the people in place, the offensive line. They have the players they said they needed, the depth they said they needed. What's gone wrong? What has happened?
Well, the physicality on the offensive line is not there right now, and that needs to be fixed, I think, above anything else. The fact that you don't really have the guys that are, and you would have thought a little older, more mature guys like Caleb Jones, guys like Bedford, guys like Haggard, who showed a lot of promise last year. You would think that it would work, but it hasn't. And Kadick and Dylan Powell at center appears to be a downgrade from Kreider last year. So I think that's the issue. You just don't have that. Against the big boys, you haven't shown that level of physicality. But maybe too, like I said, certainly I think Ohio State and Michigan State. I think after that, physically, you're going to have some better matchups with teams like Maryland, Purdue, Rutgers, Minnesota, as opposed to facing the big. This schedule was very front loaded, and for Indiana to go through some of the injuries and the issues that they've gone through, it's really tough. But I think on the back end, you probably have some more favorable matchups in terms of physicality. But are you going to be beat up and dispirited again second half of the season? Or are you going to be able to make a run the second half of the season to at least make it a respectable season?
I think this is going to be a weekend that Rutgers finds out where they are, because they'll host Michigan State. Yeah. And to me, that's about as good a test as they can see where they are. If they can upset Michigan State or play with them, that shows improvement, which we know that they're better, but we'll see how much they have actually improved.
Yeah, like Rutgers, they played Michigan really tough in the Big House, and then they laid an egg last week against Ohio State. So, but I think when you're a program like that that's trying to build, you're going to go through that. You remember 2 years ago, Indiana got blown out at home against Ohio State, but they still made a bowl. They made it all the way to the Gator Bowl that year. They shook that off, and they played better. After that, they learned from that blowout loss, and so we'll see what Rutgers does. Can they do that? And can they just shake that loss off quickly, or do they let that affect them mentally? I think that'll be fascinating to see against Michigan State.
Other games, Maryland is at Ohio State on Saturday at noon. Number 7, Ohio State. Kevin mentioned Wisconsin at Illinois. That could be interesting. Illinois has not played well. Wisconsin's not great either. It could see if they turn things around. Michigan, this game might be a little more interesting than people think. Number 9, Michigan, going to Nebraska. Nebraska's defense has gotten better. I just talked about that on the list a minute ago, but they also scored 50 points against Northwestern.
Yep.
I know it's Northwestern, they're down, but that's still, their offense has not scored 50 points in a long time. So Nebraska has improved. It's going to be a situation where Michigan is going to be in a hostile environment, sell out at Nebraska and Lincoln all the time. That could be a fun game.
I think so, yeah. And Scott Frost said after the Northwestern game, he said that's how it's supposed to look, and he's been waiting for that offense. And you've got the dual threat guy in Adrian Martinez, who has a lot of ability, but has been inconsistent. But he certainly showed in that game that he can run that offense really particularly well. How about by the way, an aside there, I don't know if you saw Kentucky upset Florida last week. How about the Nebraska transfer, Wan'Dale Robinson, with a touchdown in that game? Did really well. So I thought that was interesting as well. It's a shame that Nebraska doesn't have Wan'Dale, because I thought he was an exciting player. But I warned my SEC friends about him. I said, hey, watch out for this kid Wan'Dale Robinson at Kentucky. He's going to be pretty good. And he, sure enough, big play on the screen pass, scores a touchdown, and Kentucky upsets Florida. And there's a lot of noise in the system down there in Gainesville between Dan Mullen and then the former coach Urban Meyer and his situation. And
is that even? Are you saying that there's a possibility that? Could you imagine is this Urban Meyer's last coaching job in Jacksonville, or could you see him going back to Florida?
Or you could see him go to USC. That's been the big rumors. Everyone thinks that he's going to go west.
Why would USC pull him in when he's sucking at Jacksonville? I know it's the NFL.
Because Urban's a proven winner in college. You know, the NFL is not working out for him, but he is a proven winner in college. I mean, he won a national championship at Florida. He won a national championship at Ohio State. You cannot deny that he is a great college coach, but it is a different animal in the NFL. And for him not to go back on that flight on Thursday and then be caught in the shenanigans over the weekend with the cell phone, and that's problematic.
Yeah, how about that, man?
Yeah, that's problematic. You got to be careful. When you're a celebrity like that, your circle has to be extremely tight. As you know, Jim, because you're a local celebrity.
Yeah, right. The thing is, did he own that bar?
Yeah, because he's got a bar. It's in suburban Columbus, right? I don't know if that was the bar that he was at, but I know he's got some bars there in Dublin, Ohio, which it's the fastest growing city in Ohio because it's always Dublin.
Why is he there in the middle of the NFL season?
Yeah, that's the thing. And like, why is he not?
Especially in the NFL season in which you're getting your butt handed to you.
Exactly. If you're Owen, I think that's the bigger issue, and listen, and some of that stuff is between Urban and his wife and his family, and certainly that's embarrassing and probably causes pain from a family standpoint. But also why aren't you flying home with the team? Why aren't you're 0-4? Why aren't you locked down in that office and, trying to figure out how to do a better job on 3rd and 2,
I think we need to take a break. John's telling us. When we come back, we can talk about a little bit NFL. The Chargers in Las Vegas last night, they had a weather delay in a domed stadium. How about that?
How does that happen?
Ask your boy, the Raiders coach, John Gruden. He'd like to know too. Hey, we got plenty more. Back with it. Kevin Brockway's with me. Indiana Sports Beat returning right after this. Brought to you by our great friends at Cheryl Sizemore Remax Indy Home Pros. If you're in the market for a home in the Indy area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Cheryl's got over 2 decades of experience. That could be the difference in you getting the home you want. Make sure you reach out to Cheryl Sizemore at 317-298-0961 or Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant. Whether you're looking...
Wow, the Dodgers don't win the NL West.
Yeah, they got the wild card game, and the Yankees and the Red Sox tonight.
That is nuts.
Yep.
The Dodgers... I saw a stat the other day. After the All-Star break, they won like so many games and picked up 0 games on the Giants.
Yeah. No, the Giants were a machine all year.
They're 2 of the best teams in baseball.
Yep. But, the Cardinals have been red hot in September. I mean, the Cardinals could beat the Dodgers, and you could have a 105-win team going home after 1 game.
So the playoff field's set.
Yeah, season ended Sunday. And your Reds didn't make it, but the Reds, how many wins did the Reds end up with? Like 83 or 84? I mean, they had a good season.
Well, they just tanked it, man.
I know they did, but the Cardinals just got too hot. No one's gonna, The Mets tanked it, and they fired.
Oh, I wish I'd have read this before. When Mike was on.
What?
The Ravens extended their streak of consecutive games with at least 100 rushing yards to 43 regular season games on Sunday, tying the 70s Pittsburgh Steelers for the longest such streak in NFL history. They picked up a 23-7 win over the Denver Broncos along the way.
Yep. Justin Tucker, 3 more field goals. My guy in fantasy. He's freaking awesome. How about my Jets finally winning, huh?
But they had to do it while in victory formation. So they get the ball back with 3 seconds left, and the Ravens had Lamar Jackson run 1 more play rather than take a knee in victory formation. He picked up the 5 yards and the extra history.
Oh, you're up 23-7. If you fumble, I mean, it's 23-14. So,
But I mean, they're up, the Steelers are upset. I'm like, hey, stop them.
Yeah, exactly.
Failure to get vaccinated could cost Kyrie Irving more than $381,000 a game.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Idiot. What are you going to do?
Let him lose the money. Give it to me.
Yeah, but what if you're a Nets fan? He can't play 41 home games, It's crazy.
All right, here we go.
And $0 down. Or how about a brand new 2021 Honda Passport? Also 0% APR financing over 48 months and $0 down. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by AAA Insurance. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington and Southern Stone Restaurant.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio brought to you by AAA Insurance. Hey, we all need some insurance, whether it's auto, home, renters, or life insurance, and you need to be insured by someone who cares about you. For those of you in the Southwest Indiana, Evansville, or South Illinois area, reach out to our friends at AAA Insurance today for your auto, home, life, and renter's insurance needs. 812-477-9966. That's 812-477-9968. It's AAA Insurance. Be covered by someone who cares about you. Major League Baseball playoffs are set, man. The Dodgers did not win the NL West and had one of the greatest seasons ever.
Yeah, 105 games. Did not beat out the Giants, who had 107 games.
Has there ever been a team that won 105 games and did not win a division?
Well, there was a team. There was a team in 1993 that won, and this was back before the wild card, that won 102 games and did not make the playoffs, and that was the Giants. They lost to the Braves on the last day.
Wow.
Back in the NL West. Yeah. Yep. That pennant race. So it's amazing, but it can happen. It was that was a great pennant race. And you had that back in the day when you had, the divisional, you just had the two divisional winners in each league. And I think before that in the 1960s, you just had one division in the AL and the NL, and the winner went to the World Series. So it's certainly changed. And I think there's talk about expanding the postseason again with the new collective bargaining agreement, which would be interesting in light of some of what's going on, because now the Dodgers have a 1-game wild card. The Cardinals have been red hot, and you could have a 105 win team going home after one day, while the Braves, who won 80 something games and won their division, will get a full series because they won their division. And I think there's a question about whether you reseed them or do something different.
Of course you do, because I think it's ridiculous, especially in baseball, with as much cross play as there is. Forget the stupid divisions. If your division's weak, it doesn't matter. I mean, I think you seed. I think professional baseball, professional sports, you seed. Period. You're playing professionals, so you seed them, and that to have either the Dodgers or the Giants go home that quick would be crazy.
Yeah.
Just idiotic. Why? It's idiotic to me, because obviously they're the two best teams in the National League.
Yeah. And now you have the hottest team at the end of the year facing them, the Cardinals, who have won they won 17 in a row in September. That crazy run to get that wild card.
They finally lose.
Yeah, they did. They lost a couple times that last week, but I mean, they're still playing with so much confidence right now at such a high level that they could easily knock out the Dodgers on Wednesday. I mean, that could very well happen. But that's the other thing. Do you make the wild card a best of 3? There's been a lot of discussion about that. Or
why not?
How you
play all those freaking games? What the hell's 2 more?
Yeah, but there's something exciting about a one and done game. You got the Yankees and the Red Sox tonight. That's going to be a one and done game. Up in Boston, up in Fenway Park, with all the Chatterheads up there, and that'll be exciting. Yankees Red Sox is always a big deal, and we'll see who comes out on top there.
Yep. A little NBA news: the NBA and its players' union have agreed to terms for financial penalties for players who miss home games as a result of violating local COVID-19 vaccine mandates in New York and San Francisco. Unvaccinated players on the Knicks, the Brooklyn Nets, and Golden State Warriors will lose 191.6 of their salary each home game they miss this season. And that 191st, whatever that is, for Kyrie Irving, let's see. The one player known to potentially be in violation of laws mandating that is Kyrie Irving, who, let's see, he's under a $34.9 million contract this season. Each game missed would cost him $381,000.
Give me that.
I would man. Can you imagine? That's life-changing for most people.
Yeah.
And it's sick that is possibility, but I'm not gonna waste my time talking about someone like that. Look at Jennifer. Go Cardinals. Cardinals fan. Of course, she's down in Evansville, though. You would expect that.
Are there a lot of Cardinal fans in Evansville?
Oh yeah, big time.
Why?
Big time. That's what I'm saying. Ross said we were talking soccer earlier. Lexington getting a USL team and a new stadium.
Yeah.
Wow. So
What will they be called? The Lexington what?
thoroughbreds, probably. Who knows? Something silly.
The Keeneland Thoroughbreds?
Who knows? Who knows? What do you have working on that you're working on, Kevin?
I got some coming out tomorrow on Miller Kopp, former, new guy, and talking a lot about him wanting to show that he's more than just a shooter, that he's trying to expand other areas of his game, and is going to have to, right, in terms of the switching defense. Of course, we did not see Miller Kopp in the warm-up section of Hoosier Hysteria, so that certainly raises some question that we'll have to ask Mike Woodson on Friday. And I'm sure you also noticed Christian Lander in that walking boot, which was not.
He was walking around afterwards. He seems fine. He was going to be in the dunk contest, but it's all precautionary stuff, is what I think.
Yeah,
I don't think there's anything.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, we'll see, and that'll be something. Like I said, we'll probably address at Media Day with Mike on Friday, and I'll be there for Media Day coverage as well. Interesting. We didn't talk about it with Mike, but they're doing the women too there, kind of like a crossover, and I'm sure that's an equity thing that they've maybe discussed with regards to that, like with getting kind of a little more publicity for the women's teams as well. And it'll be a big year for Terry Moore coming off the Elite Eight appearance also in terms of that.
Absolutely. A little expectation for Indiana women's basketball.
Allie Patberg said she wanted to bring back a banner, right? To the, she said that during Hoosier Hysteria. That's why she came.
Well, she might be the spokesman for that team, but Grace Berger is the head honcho. She is the best player. I think that Grace Berger is probably the best player in Indiana women's basketball history. And that's a little guess on there because I've not gone back and researched if they've had some, and I know they've had a couple players that were really good, but Grace Berger is just a baller. I remember watching her 2 years ago, and I'm like, that girl can just play. And I don't mean for girls. She's just a baller. She's a basketball player, man. She's just good. She is sound fundamentally. She is probably going to go pro. She is just that. There, and I know people look at Tyra Buss and they look at Allie Patberg, and this is the girl that's going to be the one that goes pro. She's the one that is going to be the player. I think the best player of all time for Indiana. Not the all-time scoring leader, obviously. Tyra did that. Grace Berger does not try to do that. She stays within the team, and this is a good team. They have players at all the different positions, and they're all coming back. Alexa Gourbet, Mackenzie Holmes, Allie Patberg, like you said, Hillary Cardano.
Jalen Penn transferred, but most of that core is back. And Cardano, Hillary, obviously, and Berger. I mean, such a good shooter too, right? Good mid-range and can stop on the dime and shoot. And she's got a tremendous amount of ability and talent. And it'll be, like I said, fun to see what she does. Louisville girl, right?
I promise you that Louisville's. They look back and say, we may have made a mistake on that one. Jalen Penn got out of Louisville as well, but that one was not. Louisville has a great women's basketball program. Coach Waltz has done a tremendous job there, but I promise you, he probably wishes he had that one back.
Yeah, because Grace is a player. I mean, she can really do it. And Terry Moore and a lot of expectations this year. So it'll be interesting to see, them and the men. Obviously, the next 2 days, it'll be a lot of work, but a lot of fun going up there to Indy and given the coverage. And Adam Jardy had me vote on the Big Ten poll. It's a media poll this year. So I think that comes out tomorrow. So hopefully the Indiana fans don't see it, we'll see. Hopefully he doesn't break down the specific votes, but
I hope he does. I want to see. Where did you put him?
I think I had him 8 out of 14.
Men's basketball,
I had 8 out of 14. Yeah,
you got to be kidding me. And you saved this till the end, till the end of the show.
Yeah,
because
listen, coming off 2 years where they were tied for 10th and 11th. You know what I mean? It's it's gonna be
8th. I'm not seeing that. Who besides the normal, besides Michigan, Purdue, Ohio State, Maryland,
Illinois.
Okay, those 5. I'm going to give you those 5.
Rutgers and Michigan State. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting. I think they're going to end up 5th.
Well, you think they're going to be better than Illinois, Rutgers, and Michigan State?
I don't know that. I mean, we don't know until we see them, but I think they're going to surprise a few people. I do. I think that
Listen, if they're top 8 in the Big Ten this year, they'll still probably make the tournament.
Oh, absolutely. They're going to make I expect them to be a tournament team. There's no question, no doubt.
But I think they're still I think their ceiling is still borderline NCAA tournament team.
Ross said he saw that IU women's basketball received a top 100 recruit yesterday. I didn't see that, but I will have to dig into that. Thank you, Ross. Appreciate that. But looking forward to it. Yeah, this week we'll be up there on Thursday live take the show live Thursday because that's the IU day. And I'm not going to go up there for both days like I normally do.
The IU day is Friday, not Thursday.
That's what I meant. It's Friday.
Yeah.
Just going up Friday, not Thursday and Friday.
IU and Purdue are both on Friday. But I'm going to go up both days because I have to do a Big Ten page and stuff. So I have to gather info for that.
So we're looking forward to it, and we'll be coming there, and hopefully we'll get some of the guys on. Looking forward to see if we can get some of the coaches, some of the players on. We don't know. Let's see what all we can get scheduled, but we'll be heading in that direction. Looking forward to it. I hope everybody else had a great day, had fun. We did here. I cannot thank Mike DeCourcy enough, as always, and Kevin Brockway and John, the producer. Most importantly, got to thank you guys because without you, there's nothing for us to do. But make sure you comment, reach out. Give Kevin a follow on Twitter, and please give me one as well at Jim Coyle ISB. Would appreciate that very much if you go do that. And make sure if you're not a subscriber on YouTube that you go do that. Just subscribe and hit notifications so you can get the broadcast. Hey, we'll be back tomorrow to do it again. Dylan Sin, Kyle Nedenrip. No, he's going to be back on Thursday. Bob Kravitz. We'll see what we can get screamed up tomorrow. Have a great day. And until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I'll see you on the radio.